What if the shadow that eclipsed your sun became the light that guided you through the dark? What if the hand that crushed your heart was the same one destined to heal it? In a city where secrets pulse like hidden veins beneath the concrete skin, one stormy night rewrote two lives in blood and rain. This is the story of Elena, a woman whose grief forged a blade of vengeance until fate twisted it into a key that unlocked a forbidden love. But every key has teeth that bite. It all began with a collision that echoed like thunder through the soul. Picture this. The clock strikes 10 on a Friday in late autumn, and the skyline of Riverton hums with the electric buzz of lives rushing toward tomorrow. Elena Vargas, 34, with eyes like polished obsidian and a laugh that could coax blooms from winter soil, slides into the passenger seat of her husband's sleek black sedan. She's still flushed from the wine at La Bella Vita, that tucked-away bistro where the air smells of garlic and whispered promises. Her dark curls, damp from the downpour outside, frame a face alive with possibility. Beside her, Marcus, her anchor, her architect, 38, and built like the bridges he designed, grips the wheel with easy confidence. His salt and pepper stubble catches the glow of passing street lamps, and his free hand finds hers, fingers lacing like they were carved from the same stone. 5 years, Marcus says, his voice a gravelly melody over the slap of wipers against the relentless rain. And I'd do it all again. Spill the marinara, quote that God-forsaken Byron at dawn, every messy, beautiful bit. Elena smiles, the kind that reaches into your chest and tugs. She's a literature professor, the type who unravels sonnets in her sleep, and tonight, over plates of veal scallopine, they dreamed bigger. A house on the lake's edge, walls lined with bookshelves groaning under classics and blueprints, a nursery painted in soft blues for the child they'd finally decided to chase. Marcus, ever the planner, had sketched the crib on a napkin, his pencil strokes bold and sure. Our fortress, he'd called it. Elena had traced the lines with her fingertip, heart swelling like the storm clouds overhead. The city unfolds around them in a blur of neon and shadow high-rises, clawing at the bruised sky, taillights streaking red like warnings ignored. Jazz drifts from the radio, a saxophone weeping low notes that mirror the rhythm of the rain. They talk over it, voices overlapping in that intimate shorthand of long married love. Her dread of the upcoming semester's lectures, his latest bridge project spanning the old industrial docks. It's not just steel and cable, he says, eyes on the road but soul on her. It's connection, holding chaos together. She squeezes his hand, unaware how prophetic those words will become. The bridge ahead, Elmwood, a rusted artery over the swollen Riverton River, looms through the haze, its lights fracturing in puddles like shattered promises. But chaos has its own architect, and he's closing in from the fringes. Alex Kane, 32, isn't the villain of pulp novels. He's the everyman cracked by circumstance, his life a house of cards toppled by one desperate bet. Once, he was the kid in the garage, wrench in hand, dreaming of engines that roared like freedom. Now, debts choke him like Vine's $5,000 to a bookie named Rico, whose smile hides a switchblade. Tonight, in a fever of flight, Alex has crossed the Rubicon, a hot-wired Ford pickup, stolen from a tow yard's graveyard of forgotten rides. Its engine growls unevenly, headlights punching feeble holes in the deluge. His face in the rearview, sharp jaw shadowed by stubble, a jagged scar from a bar fight etching his left brow like a curse twist with the raw edge of survival. Sweat beads on his forehead, despite the chill seeping through the cracked window. Just the bridge, then the highway out, he mutters, voice lost to the storm's howl. Flashbacks flicker like faulty bulbs. The casino's green felt altar, cards flipping to ruin. Rico's meaty fist slamming the table. Tomorrow, or your knees get intimate with the pavement. Alex had nodded, hollow, then run grabbing keys that weren't his, peeling out into the night. No plan beyond escape, No thought of collateral. The Ford hydroplane's on a curve, tires whispering betrayal, and he corrects with a curse, accelerator pinned. Sirens wail faintly in the distance. Phantoms or real? The bridge appears, a silver slash ahead, and he guns it, blind to the sedan gliding serene in his path. Fate doesn't announce itself, it collides. Marcus eases onto the span, the sedan's tires thrumming against wet grates, suspension sighing like a lover's breath. Home by 11, he teases Elena, thumb brushing her knuckles. Hot bath, you reading Austen till I snore. Our ritual. She leans into him, head on his shoulder, the world reduced to this bubble of warmth amid the tempest. Lightning veins the sky, thunder rumbling a bass line to their jazz, and for a heartbeat, everything aligns perfect, improbable. Then the Ford erupts from the spray like a specter unchained. Alex's wipers stutter, visibility collapsing to smears of light and shadow. An oncoming semi forces his swerve right too hard, panic seizing the wheel. The pickup fishtails, a beast in frenzy, rear-ending a guardrail before careening sideways. Time fractures. Elena's gasp sharpens the air as she spots the loom in the mirror, a chrome nightmare bearing down. Marcus's arm shoots across her chest, instinct's futile shield. Hold on! His shout swallowed by the universe's roar. The impact detonates. Metal yields with a shriek that rends the night, the Ford's grille crumpling into the sedan's flank like a lover's brutal embrace. Glass erupts in a crystalline blizzard, shards kissing skin like icy daggers. The sedan spins wild, a corkscrew of momentum, slamming the opposite rail with bone-jarring force. Elena's world inverts, dashboard lights strobe. Madness. Her seatbelt bites deep. Marcus's grip iron on her arm. Then the rail gives, a groan of surrender, and gravity claims them. The car tumbles, end over end, into the river's maw, a black serpent roiling with foam and fury. Underwater, silence engulfs, broken only by the muffled crackle of electrical shorts. The sedan settles in silt, headlights dimming to accusatory glares. Elena thrashes against her belt, lungs aflame, glimpsing Marcus slumped, blood threading the currents like crimson ink. Bubbles escape her scream, a silent dirge. She wrenches free, kicking upward through the cold vise, surfacing in a gasp that tastes of mud and metal. Clawing the muddy bank, she collapses, retching river water, her cries raw against the gale. Marcus! Marcus! Above, Alex stumbles from the mangled Ford, rain scouring a gash above his eye. The bridge lies scarred, debris strewn like confetti from hell. He leans over the edge, nothing but churning void, the splashes echo mocking him. Bile rises, knees buckle. No, God, no. Sirens keen closer, harbingers of cuffs and cells. He bolts, legs pumping through alleys slick as sin, vanishing into the city's undercroft, a ghost with a guilty heartbeat. Hours bleed into dawn at County General, where Elena stirs to fluorescent hell. Tubes tether her to beeping sentinels. Pain throbs in symphony with loss. A detective hovers, voice clipped. Hit and run. Driver fled. Description? Elena's gaze locks on the empty chair. Marcus's absence a wound flayed open. His ring, cold on her finger, mocks the vows. Find him, she whispers, voice forged in the forge of fury. Make him pay for stealing my world. In a derelict squat miles away, Alex peels off sodden clothes, scrubbing phantom blood under a faucet's sputter. Accident, he rasps to the peeling walls. Just a goddamn accident. But the papers will brand it manslaughter, his face sketched in composites. He crafts a new skin hair cropped, name swapped to Jack vowing shadows over surrender. Two souls adrift, tethered by tragedy's invisible chain. The storm had baptized them in ruin. But from such floods, what strange flowers might bloom? The night whispered no answers, only the promise of paths yet to cruelly cross. The storm broke at dawn, but the darkness in Elena's world only deepened. Fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets in the sterile confines of County General, casting harsh shadows on her bruised skin. She lay there, a prisoner to IV drips and monitors that charted a pulse she no longer trusted. The detective's visit replayed in fragments, his notebook flipped open like a judge's gavel. Questions probing the wreckage of her memory. The truck dark, maybe Ford, driver, male, average build. Elena had managed to nod, her voice a rasp scraped raw by river water and screams. But the face eluded her, a blur in the chaos, leaving only the void where Marcus should be. Nurses came and went, murmuring about miracles her survival, the shallow cuts, the cracked ribs that would heal. But miracles felt like curses when the man beside her in the car hadn't surfaced breathing. Discharge papers crinkled in her fist 2 days later, a ticket back to emptiness. Leela, her sister, drove her home in silence, the wipers swiping at a drizzle that mocked the flood. The apartment building loomed like a mausoleum, its brick facade etched with memories. Marcus hoisting grocery bags up the stairs. Elena unlocking the door with a kiss stolen in the hallway. Inside, the air hung heavy, stale with abandonment. His coffee mug sat on the counter, half full and cold. Her side of the bed remained untouched, an accusation in rumpled sheets. Elena collapsed onto the couch, clutching the napkin sketch from their dinner the crib, their fortress now a relic of dreams drowned. "Stay with me," Lila pleaded, unpacking takeout neither touched. But Elena waved her away, the door clicking shut like a final punctuation. Grief wasn't a visitor, it was an invasion. Days bled into nights without demarcation, the clock's hands mocking her stasis. She wandered the rooms in Marcus's oversized flannel, inhaling his scent fading like smoke. Meals were forgotten crusts hardening on plates, coffee turning to sludge. Sleep evaded her, chased off by visions. The bridge's lights fracturing, the plunge's cold embrace. Marcus's hand slipping from hers in the dark currents. She'd jolt awake, sweat-soaked, whispering his name to the empty dark. Friends called, their voices tinny through the phone. "We're here, Elena? Group therapy? A walk in the park?" She hung up, curling tighter, the world outside a betrayal of normalcy. The university emailed extensions, compassionate leave indefinite, but standing before a lecture hall, dissecting metaphors of loss while her own gaped open, unthinkable. Vengeance, though, sharpened the edges of her numbness. Late one night, fueled by black coffee and rage, Elena fired up her laptop. The police file, emailed in redacted mercy, stared back. Hit and run, suspect vehicle recovered, no prints, no leads. "Coward," she hissed, fingers flying across keys. Her blog birthed from that fury, Shadows on the Bridge, anonymous posts spilling her story in veiled prose. He drove away. While we sank, my love's last breath stolen by indifference. "Who are you, Shadow? Do you sleep while I shatter?" Readers trickled in, fellow survivors sharing their scars. A mother's wail for a child lost to a texting teen. A father's limp from a drunk swerve. It became her confessional, a digital pyre where she burned questions into the ether. "I'll find you," she typed in a private draft, the words a vow etched in acid. Not for headlines, but for the justice Marcus's blueprints deserved a reckoning in the quiet hours. Across the city's fractured veins, in a squat above a shuttered auto shop, Alex Kane or Jack Harlan now, the alias a flimsy shield wrestled demons of his own making. The warehouse he'd claimed reeked of oil and oblivion, its walls papered in peeling posters of forgotten races. He'd bartered his watch for a burner phone, cash for clippers that sheared his hair to stubble, dye turning it ash gray. The scar on his brow throbbed like a brand, a map to his ruin. Sleep was his enemy, fractured by replays, the sedans crumple under his grill, the splash echoing like judgment. Not murder, he told the mirror, eyes hollowed by the lie. Panic, debts, Rico's ghost at my heels. but the morning news branded it vehicular homicide, a grainy sketch circulating close enough to his old face to spike his pulse. Guilt coiled in his gut, tighter than any noose. He'd circled the hospital once, hood up, glimpsing Elena through a window pale, bandaged, alive. Relief warred with horror. He'd caused that fragility, snuffed the man at her side. No cops on his tail yet, but paranoia painted shadows as pursuers. He scavenged day labor wrenching engines under assumed names, pockets lined with just enough to eat. Nights he scoured forums, donating scraps to victim funds under aliases, a penance too small for the blood on his hands. "Make it right," he muttered, fists clenched against phantom steering wheels. Flashbacks ambushed him. His father's garage lessons. "Fix what you break, son," now a dirge. Rico's threats faded against this new Spectre prison bars, or a lifetime haunted. He dreamed of confession, of facing her eyes, but fear bolted the words. Instead, he ran deeper into reinvention, a ghost, plotting atonement from the fringes. Elena's blog hit 1,000 views by week's end, a fragile web of solidarity. She stepped out once, to the corner market for milk, the clerk's pitying glance a fresh wound. "Sorry for your loss," he said, and she fled, tears hot on cold cheeks. Back home, she lit candles on the mantel, Marcus's photo flickering in their glow, a smile promising forever. Now a ghost. "I miss you," she breathed, the words a bridge to nowhere. Vengeance simmered, a low flame, but beneath it exhaustion whispered of surrender. Little did she know her words echoed to the very shadow she hunted, drawing him closer in ways neither could foresee. In the squat's dim bulb, Alex Jack scrolled a proxy browser. Shadows on the bridge, pulling him like gravity. Her prose pierced, the plunge, the loss, the unquenched rage. Recognition dawned, cold as the river. "That's her," he whispered, heart hammering. Guilt surged, but so did a reckless urge to reach out, to atone. He closed the tab, breath ragged, the city's hum a indifferent lullaby. Two fractured orbits tilting toward collision. From the ruins, would understanding rise? Or only sharper thorns? The dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving, teasing secrets yet to unfold. The cursor blinked like a taunt on Jack's cracked laptop screen, Elena's words searing into him. "The shadow drives on, but I sink forever in the wake he left." He slammed the lid shut, the squat's thin walls vibrating with the echo. Dawn's gray light slithered through grimy windows, illuminating dust motes dancing like accusations. Jack Alex no more, though the old name clawed at his thoughts, paced the creaking floorboards, sweat beading despite the chill. Her blog wasn't just a cry. It was a mirror, reflecting his monstrosity back at him. He'd bookmarked it in a haze of compulsion, refreshing obsessively, devouring updates that chronicled her unraveling. Guilt twisted deeper, a knife he couldn't extract. "Fix it," his father's ghost urged from memory, wrench in ethereal hand. But how? Confession meant chains. Silence meant slow poison. Desperation birthed a reckless plan. Jack scoured the blog's comments, spotting her mention of a support group Riverside Bereavement Circle, meetings Tuesdays at the old community center on Maple. "For those drowned by loss," she'd written, the irony biting. He could go, blend in, listen, not to speak, but to witness the wreckage he'd wrought, atonement in anonymity, a vow whispered to the flickering bulb overhead. He shaved closer, traded the hoodie for a thrift store button-down that hung loose on his frame, practicing a smile in the mirror that didn't reach his eyes. "Jack Harlan. Lost my brother to a crash last year." The lie flowed smoother than expected, laced with half-truths from his own scars. By noon, he was on the bus. Riverton sprawl blurring past, heart hammering like the engine's cough. Elena arrived early that first Tuesday. The community center's faded brick a reluctant sanctuary. Her hand trembled on the door handle. The blog's catharsis not quite bridging the chasm inside. Leela had pushed her here. One meeting, sis, you're not alone in this. And guilt over worrying her sister propelled Elena's steps. The lobby smelled of stale coffee and lemon polish. Folding chairs scraped into a circle in the multi-purpose room. A dozen strangers milled, faces etched with shared hollows. A young mother clutching a teddy bear. An elderly man staring at his shoes. Elena claimed a seat by the window, sunlight slanting through blinds like hesitant fingers, her notebook open to blank pages. Words failed her now, the blog's fire dimmed by daylight's scrutiny. The facilitator, a soft-spoken woman named Rita with laugh lines like road maps, called the circle to order. "Share what you can," she said, voice a gentle anchor. "Or just listen. We're threads in the same tapestry." Elena's turn came midway, her throat tightening. "It's been 6 weeks," she began, voice steady at first, then cracking. "Marcus was everything. The crash stole him and the driver. A ghost who ran. I rage at the unfairness, but mostly I just miss the quiet parts, his coffee breath in the morning, the way he'd hum off-key." Nods rippled. Around, a woman squeezed her hand. Elena exhaled, the weight lifting a fraction, words a dam breached. Jack sat across the circle, hood of his jacket shadowing his face, pulse thundering. Her voice velvet over gravel pierced him, each detail a shard embedding deeper. Marcus. The name humanized the silhouette he'd glimpsed in headlights, turning accident to atrocity. He kept his gaze down, fingers twisting a styrofoam cup, the coffee bitter as regret, when his fabricated tale spilled, "Lost my brother, drunk driver. Feels like I should have seen it coming." The lie tasted foul, eyes flicking to Elena's. She met them briefly, a flicker of empathy in her obsidian depths, and Jack's breath hitched. Connection, unbidden, sparked like a shorted wire. Dangerous. He vowed to vanish after, a one-night phantom. But fate, that sly weaver, had other threads. Post-meeting, as stragglers lingered over earned coffee and store-bought cookies, Elena lingered too, drawn by the window's view of autumn leaves skittering like lost souls. Jack hovered at the snack table, feigning interest in a pamphlet on coping rituals, when a chair leg caught his boot, sending him stumbling into her path. "Sorry," he muttered, steadying with a hand on the wall, close enough to catch her scent lavender and faint river chill. Elena turned, surprise softening her edges. "No harm?" she said, a small smile ghosting her lips. "The first in weeks." "Rough day?" He nodded, the lie queuing up, but her eyes searching, not accusing, derailed it. "Something like that. You?" Jack's voice emerged rougher than intended, laced with a raw edge he couldn't shave away. Elena shrugged, tracing the pamphlet's edge. "Every day's rough, but talking helps. I'm Elena." The name hung, a bridge extended. "Jack," he replied, hand outstretched before he could recoil. Her grip was firm, warm, calluses from turning pages. And for a heartbeat, the room narrowed to that contact electric, forbidden. They drifted to the window, words tumbling like the leaves outside. She spoke of Marcus's sketches, the unfinished life. He mirrored with vague losses, truths veiled in half shadows. "Grief's a thief," Elena said, voice low. "Steals the color from everything." Jack swallowed, the irony choking. "Yeah, but maybe it leaves room for new shades." The words escaped unbidden, a probe into uncharted waters. She tilted her head, curiosity flickering. "Philosopher, are you?" A laugh, light as fractured glass. He shrugged, heart a war drum. "Just a mechanic. Fix what's broken." The facilitator called time, but Elena slipped him her blog's URL scribbled on a napkin. "If you want to read more, Strength in Shared Shadows." Jack pocketed it, fingers brushing hers, a spark that lingered. Outside the bus idled, But he walked instead, the city's pulse sinking with his turmoil. Her touch echoed, a crack in his armor. Back in the squat, the napkin unfurled like a summons. Shadows on the bridge. He refreshed, her latest post glowing, "Met a stranger today. Reminded me ghosts can have kind eyes." Jack's breath caught. Was that him? Guilt warred with a treacherous pull, the seeds of something unnamed taking root. Elena unlocked her apartment, the napkin counterpart tucked in her pocket, a talisman against the silence. Jack's eyes, storm gray, haunted, lingered in her mind, a puzzle amid the pain. Not attraction, not yet, but a thread of understanding, fragile as spider silk. She lit candles. Marcus's photo watchful, whispering apologies to the flame. "Just talking," she assured the empty room. But deep down, a whisper stirred. What if paths crossed weren't accidents? The night deepened, Riverton's lights winking like conspirators, drawing two worlds inexorably closer. From collision to convergence, the dance had only just begun. The napkin burned a hole in Jack's pocket all week. Elena's URL, a siren call he both craved and dreaded. By the next Tuesday, the community center pulled him back like gravity's inexorable tug. He told himself it was reconnaissance for her healing, his hidden amends. But the lie crumbled under the weight of anticipation. The circle reformed, faces familiar now. The mother with her bear, the old man with his silence. Elena arrived late, slipping in with a quiet apology, her dark curls pinned back, exposing the delicate curve of her neck. She chose the seat beside him this time, a casual drift that set his nerves alight. "Back for more shadows?" she murmured, passing him a cookie from the table, her fingers brushing his in a spark that lingered. The meeting unfolded in confessions and comforts, but Jack's focus narrowed to her, the way her voice softened when sharing Marcus's quirks, a half smile ghosting her lips at the memory of his terrible puns. When her turn passed, she turned to him, eyes expectant. "Your brother, did the anger ever fade?" The question pierced, demanding the half-truth he'd rehearsed. "Not really," Jack admitted, voice low. "It morphs, becomes fuel to rebuild." Elena nodded, understanding blooming in her gaze. And in that shared fracture, a bridge spanned the chasm of his secret. Afterward, they lingered again, the group thinning to echoes. "Coffee?" she suggested, tentative as if testing fragile ice. Jack hesitated, every instinct screaming flight, but nodded, the word "sure" tasting like surrender. The diner down the block was a relic. Vinyl booths cracked like old skin, coffee thick as regret. They slid into a corner, steam rising from mismatched mugs like unspoken prayers. Elena stirred hers absently, tracing patterns in the foam. "It's weird, isn't it? Needing strangers more than family right now." Jack gripped his cup, knuckles white. "Strangers see the cracks without the history. No pity, just presence." Words flowed easier than he'd feared, vulnerabilities spilling like rain from a clogged gutter. She spoke of the blog's double-edged catharsis laced with exposure, readers' stories weaving into her own like threads in a frayed tapestry. One woman wrote about forgiving the drunk who killed her son, said it freed her more than vengeance ever could. Jack's throat tightened, the irony a blade twist. He countered with fragments of his fabricated past, a brother lost to recklessness, the garage where he'd learned to mend engines and egos. "Fixing cars taught me sometimes the brake reveals what's strong underneath." Elena leaned in, chin on hand, her laugh a rare chime. "Poetic for a mechanic. Marcus would have liked you always sketching ways to reinforce the weak points." As the diner emptied, their talk deepened, circling grief's raw core. Jack shared a sliver of truth nights haunted by what-ifs, the urge to scream apologies into the void. Elena's eyes glistened, mirroring his feigned pain. "I get that, like yelling at the river for taking him unfairly." Vulnerability bridged them, her hand covering his briefly across the table, a gesture of solidarity that ignited something warmer, forbidden. He pulled back gently, guilt surging like bile, but she didn't notice, lost in the moment's balm. They parted under street lamps flickering like hesitant stars, promising, next week? Jack walked the long route home, the squat's chill no match for the fire she'd kindled. Her touch echoed, a dangerous thaw in his frozen remorse. He refreshed her blog that night, her post evolving. Shadows sharpen, but light slips through the seams, grateful for a mechanic's steady hands. His chest ached kindness from the storm's architect, healing glimpsed in stolen glances. Elena unlocked her door, the apartment less tomb-like, shadows softened by the diner's glow. Jack's stories lingered, a counterpoint to Marcus's blueprints raw, unpolished, real. She journaled by candlelight, words flowing freer. Vulnerability as a key, not a wound. Guilt flickered, betraying the dead with the living's warmth, but exhaustion won. Sleep claiming her with dreams of bridges mended, not broken. Unbeknownst to her, the man across the table wrestled fiercer storms, his bond to her a lifeline laced with lightning. In the quiet weave of Tuesdays and confessions, unlikely roots took hold, promising bloom or blaze. Tuesdays evolved into rituals, the community center a fragile cathedral, where confessions bloomed into camaraderie. Jack arrived earlier each time, staking claim to the seat beside Elena, his fabricated grief a well-worn mask that chafed less with practice. She noticed the way his arrivals synced with hers, a quiet synchronicity, and welcomed it with a nod, her smiles lingering longer, warmer. "You're becoming my anchor in this circle," she confessed one evening, as the group dispersed, her hand brushing his arm in parting. The touch ignited a current, pulling him under, and Jack nodded mutely, words trapped in the tide of what he couldn't say. Coffee stretched to walks along the riverfront, the very path where Elmwood Bridge arched like a scar in the sky. They avoided it at first, an unspoken detour, but proximity bred boldness. One crisp afternoon, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle memories, Elena steered them toward the rail. "I haven't come close since," she admitted, voice threaded with steel. "But facing it, maybe that's the fix." Jack's pulse spiked, the iron barrier a echo of his nightmare, but he matched her pace, sharing a tale of his brother's submerged wreck, embellished, evasive. "The water doesn't forget," he said, eyes on the current swirl. "But it moves on." She stopped, turning to him, wind tousling her curls. "You make it sound possible, like mending without erasing the break." Shared silences deepened their tether. Evenings bled into impromptu dinners at hole-in-the-wall spots, greasy spoons where neon buzzed like fireflies, plates piled with comfort food neither savored fully. Elena opened like a book left too long closed. Marcus's love for stargazing, their aborted trips to observatories, her fear that grief had authored her final chapter. Jack listened, offering fragments in return garage anthems from his youth, the satisfaction of a rebuilt engine purring to life. "It's in the details," he'd say, demonstrating with a napkin sketch of a carburetor, his hands steady where his heart raced. She traced the lines, fingers lingering on his, laughter bubbling when he quipped about oil stains as war paint. "You're good with your hands," she teased, the words innocent, yet laced with undercurrents that flushed her cheeks. Romance unfurled subtly, petals in a hidden garden. A rainy night found them huddled under his jacket on her stoop, laughter echoing as they dashed from cab to door. Inside, the apartment's warmth enveloped them, candles flickering on shelves of dog-eared classics, Marcus's photo a sentinel in the corner. Elena poured wine, the Merlot deep as unspoken hungers, and they sank onto the couch, knees brushing. Conversation meandered to dreams deferred. Her novel, half written in desk drawers, his vague aspirations for a custom shop. We rebuild together, she murmured, head on his shoulder, the weight a revelation. Jack froze, then relaxed into it, arm draping tentative around her, inhaling lavender and the faint salt of healing tears. A kiss hovered, unspoken, in the air between her gaze lifting to his, lips parting on a breath. He leaned in, feather light, a question answered in her sigh. But tension simmered beneath the bloom, hints of fracture glinting like glass shards. Jack's nightmares intensified, waking him in sweats, the blog's siren call a nightly torment. Her posts now wove him in, a steady presence, turning shadows to silhouettes. Guilt gnawed each caress a theft, each laugh a lie. One night, post-kiss, as she dozed against him, he glimpsed a police sketch on her fridge, his old face, faded but damning. Panic clawed. He slipped away before dawn, leaving a note. Work calls early, dreams sweet. Elena stirred to it, a pang of absence mingling with budding joy, oblivious to the storm brewing in his eyes. Across town, in the squat's gloom, Jack paced, the taste of her lips a poison and panacea. The pull toward truth warred with terror of loss, her light the very flame his darkness threatened. Yet in stolen moments, feelings deepened, roots delving into forbidden soil. Romance whispered promises, but secrets loomed, a gathering gale ready to uproot it all. As autumn waned, their worlds intertwined tighter, the river's murmur a harbinger. Love's current could heal or drown anew. Winter's chill crept into Riverton like an uninvited guest, frosting windows and Elena's tentative hopes. Their bond had woven tighter. Tuesdays now preludes to stolen weekends hikes through skeletal woods, where Jack's hand steadied her on icy paths, quiet evenings in her apartment where laughter thawed the silence. Kisses deepened from tentative brushes to hungers that left them breathless, bodies entwining on the couch under throws scented with pine from a tree they decorated together. "You're my unexpected chapter," Elena whispered one night, tracing the scar on his brow, her fingers mapping constellations in his skin. Jack held her closer, the lie a stone in his chest, her trust a flame he feared snuffing. But cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. Jack's absences grew erratic nights, vanishing into the squat, wrestling insomnia's grip, as her blog entries painted him as savior. In his eyes, I see not just survival, but revival. The police sketch, pinned like a specter on her fridge, haunted his periphery. He'd glimpsed it again during a midnight visit, heart seizing as she laughed off its faded lines. "Old ghost," she'd said, waving it away. Guilt metastasized, dreams morphing from the crash's splash to Elena's face twisting in betrayal. He drafted confessions in deleted drafts, words like "I was the shadow" burning his screen. Truth hovered, a guillotine blade, but love's gravity pinned him in place. The unraveling ignited on a snow-dusted Saturday, the city blanketed in hush. Elena had planned a surprise, a drive to the lake's edge, Marcus's sketched fortress site, a pilgrimage to reclaim joy from grief. Jack arrived at her door, bundled in wool that hid his tremors, a thermos of cocoa in hand. "Adventure?" he grinned, masking the dread coiling in his gut. They piled into her new sedan replaced insurance payout, a reluctant rebirth, the engine purring southbound, radio humming folk tunes that echoed their fragile harmony. Elena drove, wind tousling her scarf, stories spilling, childhood winters building forts from drifts, Marcus's aversion to cold but love for her snow angels. Conversation lulled at a rest stop, Elena slipping inside for coffee while Jack lingered by the pumps, breath fogging the air. His burner buzzed a wrong number text from an old contact. Rico's ghost. "Heard you're ghosting. Debts don't freeze." Panic flickered. He deleted it, but Elena emerged too soon, eyes catching the screen's glow. "Everything okay?" she asked, sliding close for a kiss that tasted of salt and secrets. He nodded, pocketing the phone, but the seed of doubt took root his guarded silences, the way he shied from photos, always angling out of frame. The lake arrived under slate skies, the cabin site a frozen canvas of Marcus's vision, stakes marking foundations, evergreens sentinel. Elena stepped out, boots crunching crust, and unfurled the napkin sketch, now laminated like a talisman. "Here," she said, voice thick, pressing it into Jack's palm. "Build with me, not replace, but add." He traced the lines, throat-closing blueprints mirroring the bridge's fatal grace. Overwhelmed, he pulled her into an embrace, but she stiffened, pulling back with a frown. "Your hands," she murmured, examining grease under his nails, a mechanic's badge. "Always fixing, but what broke you first?" The question cracked the dam. Jack's resolve fractured, words tumbling in a rush. "Elena, A gust whipped the napkin free, fluttering toward the tree line. She chased it, laughing, but snagged on a root, tumbling into a drift. Jack rushed to her, helping her up, snow dusting their lashes. In the scramble, his wallet slipped ID tumbling out, the false Jack Harlan glaring up from plastic. Elena scooped it, breath catching at the photo. Stubble shaved, hair undyed, but the scar unmistakable. Her eyes flicked to his face, then the wallet, pieces slotting with sickening clarity. "No," she whispered, backing away, the sketch crumpling in her fist. "The scar, the eyes, the new sketch. It's you." Jack froze, world tilting. "Elena, wait!" But she was unraveling, voice rising to a wail. "You, the driver? All this time kisses, lies, while Marcus rots because of you?" Betrayal bloomed crimson in her cheeks, grief's blade twisting anew. She hurled the wallet, striking his chest like judgment. "Get out, you monster stealing my pain to play hero!" Jack crumpled, knees in snow, pleas lost to her sobs as she fled to the car, engine roaring to life. Tires spun, spraying slush like shrapnel, leaving him in white silence. The lake mocked him, frozen and indifferent, as sirens wailed distant perhaps imagination, perhaps end. Back in the city, Elena barreled home, tears blurring taillights, the fortress a farce. Trust shattered, love's bloom poisoned at root. Confrontation's echo lingered, forgiveness a distant shore, betrayal's waves crashing eternal. The truth had surfaced, devouring all in its undertow. The sedan's tires carved frantic paths through the snow-slicked roads, Riverton's lights smearing into accusatory streaks as Elena barreled toward home. Her chest heaved with sobs that clawed like the river's undertow. The laminated napkin Marcus's crib sketch crumpled in her white-knuckled grip. A talisman turned traitor. Jack's face overlaid the police sketch in her mind. Those storm gray eyes, once a harbor, now a hurricane's eye. Betrayal burned hotter than grief ever had, every kiss a desecration, every laugh a mockery of the man lost to his recklessness. She slammed the apartment door, collapsing against it, the walls echoing with Marcus's ghost. "How could I?" she wailed to the empty air, hurling the sketch at his photo on the mantel. It fluttered down, a fallen bridge between past and poisoned present. Days blurred into a furious isolation. The blog's siren silenced. Her phone a brick of ignored calls from Lila, the group, and Jack's voicemails. Raw pleas dissolving into static. "Elena, please, let me explain. It was never a game." She deleted them. Rage her only companion. Pacing rooms that now felt like cells. Vengeance resurfaced, sharper. Calls to the detective, demands for his arrest. Visions of courtroom catharsis where she'd face him, unmasked. But beneath the fury, cracks formed memories intruding unbidden. His steady hand in hers on icy paths, The way he'd sketched carburetors with the same care Marcus drew homes, laughter thawing her winter. Was it all artifice? Or had the shadow glimpsed light too? Jack, adrift in the squat's deepening chill, surrendered to the abyss. The wallet lay discarded, his alias a shed skin, old scars bared. No more running, he walked to the precinct at dawn, hands cuffed without resistance, the detective's eyes widening at the confession. Elmwood Bridge, the ford. It was me. Headlines reignited, hit-and-run driver surrenders. But Jack sought no plea. Only truth's weight in orange jumpsuits and stark interrogations. Letters poured from his cell, unsent at first, then mailed in fragile hope. Accounts of the debts that drove him, the guilt that birthed his alias, the atonement in every shared coffee, every touch born of genuine awe at her resilience. I fell in love with your strength, not to steal it, one read. If forgiveness is impossible, know I carry the river's debt forever. Elena's world tilted again with the news, the blog erupting in anonymous fury from her followers. Layla found her curled on the floor, the letters scattered like autumn leaves. Read them, her sister urged, voice gentle steel. Not for him, for you. One by one, Elena did, words blurring through tears. His father's garage wisdom, the anonymous donations to crash victim funds, the terror of losing her light just as he'd found it. Rage ebbed, revealing grief's underlayer not just for Marcus, but for the man Jack might have been without that night's panic. She visited the lake alone, the site now a thawed promise under tentative sun, stakes still marking foundations. Build or burn, she whispered to the wind, Marcus's sketch smoothed in her palm. Forgiveness wasn't erasure. It was architecture reinforcing ruins into something new. The hearing came swift, Jack's plea bargain a shadow of bars and community service, his gaze locking on hers in the gallery. No outburst, only quiet. I'm sorry, Elena, for the crash, for the lies, for deserving your hate. She rose, heart a storm-quieted sea, and approached the bench post verdict. Hate would honor the shadow, she said, voice steady. But you showed me the man. Help me build the fortress. Not replace him, but beside. His eyes shattered. A nod the only response as cuffs clicked open. Months wove their redemption. Supervised rebuilds at the lake. Jack's hands scarred but sure hammering beams where blueprints met reality. Laughter returned in quiet measures. Kisses tentative then true. Love a garden reclaimed from flood. Elena's blog chronicled it. From collision to creation, shadows cast long. But light reclaims the dawn. They stood on the finished porch one golden evening. Nursery window glowing soft blue. A new life kicking within her a bridge to tomorrow, not yesterday. Jack's arms encircled her, no lies between. Our fortress, he murmured, echoing Marcus's dream. Elena leaned back, whole in the weave of loss and love. Fate's cruel twist had mended, thorns blooming roses. In Riverton's hum they wrote their sonnet's end, satisfying, sunlit, eternally entwined.